Hi, my name is Evelyn. I was born with 2 vaginas, 2 completely independent reproductive systems. I was a high-class independent escort for 8 years and used 1 vagina for work and saved 1 for my personal life. I don't think that counts as cheating. Ask me anything. Edit. I am in a very happy and healthy relationship. Of course my fiancé knows I was escorting. Australian humor. I quit escorting about 2 years ago. I am in Australia where sex work is legal and decriminalized. No matter the terms used for marketing purposes, all sex work is work. I am currently 6 months pregnant in my right vagina, side right uterus. Mods have verified my condition with my medical records and ID. You can also see it in a video on my OnlyFans if you really wish. I have 1 labia, 1 entry, and then it immediately splits into 2, a right side and left side. Please see the diagram I drew below. If I open my legs and labia, there is a hole to left and a wall, and then a hole to the right, a right and left vagina which go into their own separate system. Medical record. I drew a diagram so you can make sense of it more. My bump, which will always sit far to my right side as he's in the right uterus. I've been told as he grows he might move over a bit but will always be right. Hey everyone. I was born with uterus didelphys, a condition where I was born with an extreme mutation. I have 2 vaginas, each with their own cervix, uterus and 1 ovary attached to each side. 1 is uterus is far to my right side and 1 far to my left side. I used 1 vagina for escorting and 1 side for personal sex. I no longer escort, I creative content, and I'm now 6 months pregnant in my right vagina with my fiancé. Explanation. I have 2 completely independent reproductive systems. From the outside it initially looks like 1 normal vagina, but immediately when I open my legs there is 1 that goes right and 1 that goes left. I have 1 clitoris but 2 G-spots. Orgasms in my right vagina are way better. I found out when I was 20 I went to have a termination and the doctors couldn't find the embryo. After an internal exam they found the entire other system with the embryo still remaining in the other uterus. I had to have a second termination in the other side. Very emotional. Due to the position the doctor accidentally punctured my bowel. It wasn't a nice experience. I always knew something was wrong though since I was 14. Tampons never worked. Impex. I can't take birth control. IUDs don't fit as both uteruses are very small, half the size of a singular regular uterus. Mine are also strange shapes. As I said, I require 2 tampons. Hormones regulate my cycles. Fertility with this condition is always unknown. I require 2 STD sexual health checks, 1 in each vagina, and I require 2 pap smears. Lucky me. I can get thrush for example only in 1 side and not the other. Escorting with 2 vaginas. I worked as an independent escort in Australia for about 8 years and I was able to use 1 vagina for work and 1 for my BF, so technically that's not cheating, right? This is Aussie humor. My partner of course knew. Occasionally I'd show clients the 2 of them and blow their mind further, haha. When a person locates 1 vagina they often don't look to the right or left and notice a second. I did once have a gynecologist client and he picked it straight away. The sexy booking turned into more of a medical exam, which was bizarre. He was fascinated. It's not something professionals will maybe come across. It was really handy for work escorting. Certain guys were better for me in a certain side. If 1 side needed a break or a timeout I could use the other. When I was single I used both for work. In a relationship I used 1 for work, sex and pregnancy. I prefer my right vagina usually. I am currently 6 months pregnant in my right uterus. I was told by a specialist after a few tests to only get pregnant in the right. It's stronger. My uterus is larger and cervix better. However, there is a huge risk of falling pregnant in both sides at the same time. The babies could even be about 3 weeks difference in age. I hope you enjoy my bizarre story. Feel free to ask any questions. I am very open on my Twitter and there is a couple of videos of my 2 vaginas on my OnlyFans. There is an IAmA link above with my medical records. Twitter, @CohnDre. X. For further proof if you're inclined, www.onlyfans.com evelynuncovered. I have also sent confidential proof to mods. Edit. Hey everyone, it's 8 PM where I live and I've been answering questions for hours. I am off to get some food and sleep. I'll answer more questions tomorrow morning. I am really humbled at how intrigued, genuine and kind everyone here has been. So thank you all heaps. Evelyn 20. Edit. Hey again. Thank you to everyone who has been genuinely intrigued. All bodies are different and should be celebrated. For the many people attempting to dox my content, you all suck. Secondly, I only came out publicly with my condition very recently, and have just begun to film them a lot more. My recent videos and images show off the 2 holes very clearly with double penetration. I kept this a secret for a very long time. Old content won't show you anything. Thanks guys. Interesting. So do you still menstruate from the left while pregnant in the right? Everyone here is correct. My hormones have told my body I'm pregnant, so they both think they're pregnant, so no periods. My left lining is thick like being pregnant but no baby. Right side I am pregnant. Left side no, we're pregnant. How will delivering the baby be different for you? I know that sometimes women get tears. Is there any danger of injury to the non-pregnant side vagina? I can't give birth naturally. My uterus will give up and not be able to stretch anymore anytime from 30 weeks. Due to a strong thick cartilage-like wall that separates both systems, I can't give birth. The baby would get stuck. I have a scheduled C-section at the moment for 36 weeks, but it's unlikely I'll make that date. I'm monitored fortnightly now for signs of my uterus and cervix weakening. Does the old adage righty-tighty lefty-loosey apply? Haha, other way round. Actually, the left is smaller than the right side. Is one more sensitive in a different position or the same? The left one is shorter so doggy can be uncomfortable, but if a penis is bent a certain way sometimes I prefer the left. I can just swap it over if uncomfortable. My fiancé fits better in the right. I can feel exactly which side it's in and guys can feel a difference. Can you have a double orgasm from the 2 spots at the same time? I haven't actually tried, to be honest. You say that you are pregnant on the right side and it's pretty far off to the right. Is it pretty physically evident? Is your baby bump further to the right than center? Is it causing any stress to your hip? P.S. My congratulations to you. Very exciting. When the baby moves and I get Braxton Hicks, it's far in the right side. You can tell via ultrasound it's far to the right too. Were you always able to cope with this in a humorous way? Was it from the jump or did it take time? My mom was an IVF nurse, so questions from her and her colleagues were always very in case, so I kept it secret for a long time, especially during my time as an escort. Now I'm pregnant, I'm more open to speaking about it as it hasn't hindered my chances of having a baby. I'm enjoying bringing awareness to different bodies and how they work. Did you have to give directions to your clients, like, go straight, then take a left when you reach the fork? Many can't follow directions with a naked woman in front of them. You said hormones regulate your cycles. Do you naturally have 2 different cycles periods, or do both uteruses naturally shut at the same time? Having 2 periods would be a nightmare. I have 2 periods, so I bleed from each side at the same time because my hormones tell them to. It's not very fun. I need 2 tampons, 1 for each side. My obstetrician didn't know whether my left uterus would have breakthrough bleeding. As I'm pregnant in my right side, my left is sort of having its own phantom pregnancy because my hormones dictate what's happening. So the left is rich and full, like it's also meant to have a baby in it but no baby. What was your BF reaction when he found out about your condition? And did he find it himself or did you tell him? Didn't believe me. Today I learned he had sex in each. He fits better in the right. Does he also prefer the right? Yes, his shape goes better right. I am a medical student and am genuinely curious as to why you're not able to use hormonal birth control. Is it for other reasons? Or does it have to do with the didelphys? I just genuinely can't figure out the mechanism for why it wouldn't work to prevent pregnancy. Totally understand why an IUD wouldn't work though. I was just told not to rely on any birth control. I was on the pill years ago, but after finding out I haven't used any. It could be possible to ovulate 2 eggs at once. That doesn't necessarily make you twice as likely to get pregnant. The drugs they prescribe everyone are modeled after a set or subset of a certain type of people. Birth control is likely trialed against health women of a normal BMI, no comorbidities, and of a young maternal age 25. The drugs that regulate ovulation are likely targeted to suppress enough hormones for 1 ova. You already said you have twice as many hormones. Birth control would likely not be effective. Double dosing would have all sort of side effects. A bonus for you, you could have 1 ovary removed and potentially be sterile on 1 side. That might also allow you to take a normal amount of birth control. Yeah, the doctors don't know all that much about it. It's a wait and see type situation. Also, because all mutations are slightly different, they couldn't answer these questions accurately even if there was a study or 2. Twice the fun and twice the amount of upkeep. Not sure if that's a blessing or curse. You seem to be making it work for you though. That's awesome. Have any doctors ever told you how rare this is, like in the general population? Haha, I know, right? Twice the hormone, so a little insane occasionally. As far as I know, this mutation is the most extreme. It is extremely rare. Most doctors won't ever see it. There are minor mutations, for example 1 vagina 1 cervix and then 2 uteruses attached at the top. Doctors usually want to ask a million questions. They've never even heard of it. Congratulations on the pregnancy and hope it goes well. So does this mean you technically had to lose your virginity twice when it came time for that? You can certainly choose not to answer, but did you do both at the same time or different? Or you possibly didn't even know? Thank you. You know what, I actually haven't even considered this, to be honest, but yeah, I would have technically lost it twice. I lost my virginity at 17 and found out about the 2 at 20, so I was probably using them both. It wasn't until I became completely aware of my anatomy that I was able to feel and recognize which side I was having sex in. When did you find this out about yourself and what was your initial reaction? Did you ever suspect something was different about you before you knew for sure? I found out at 20 I got pregnant and went to have a termination, but after the procedure I was told the embryo wasn't in there, which was absurd as I had scans. So I was admitted, and after many tests I had an internal exam. They saw the other complete set and the embryo was in the other uterus. That wasn't a very nice experience. I was being pressured by doctors to keep it as it's so rare. They also punctured my bowel a few times the second procedure due to the anatomy. I always knew something was up. Tampons never worked. I still bled. I need 2 tampons, and occasionally during sex the guy would hit the center, which is like a hard wall, and not go anywhere, and it would sort of jolt me and him. So yeah, definitely knew something was up, but as the right is just the one I've always gone to, I didn't think to poke my fingers left as a teenager, so yeah, I didn't find out until the termination. Oh, that's interesting that they scanned one but not both of them at first. 20 Wow. Makes me wonder what I don't know about my own organs. All unsupervised and secret in here. Yeah, well, they didn't know I had 2 uteruses at that time, so as soon as the ultrasound picked up the embryo, they assumed all was normal. Have you been diagnosed with IAgre yet? I have Ehlers anomaly as well. I was born with a unicornuate uterus, with a non-communicating horn. I don't have a diagram handy, but you can Google it. I was diagnosed at 15 because of incredibly painful menstrual cramps from my non-communicating horn right side. I had to have a hemihysterectomy to remove that side. They did leave the right ovary because there was nothing wrong with it, and my doctors tell me it's possible that one of those eggs could travel to my left side. My remaining uterine cavity is also smaller than usual. So when I got pregnant I also had to have a C-section. It was scheduled for 37 weeks, but it seems like my daughter just ran out of room and my water broke at 33 W5D. I think I was diagnosed with IAgre at 32 or 33 weeks. It's common for women in our situation. Second question: if they told you to only get pregnant on one side, why can't you get a hysterectomy on the other side? Because they think that eggs from that side are traveling to your other fallopian tube, which I know is not an uncommon theory, but you also say you have a cartilage wall in there. P.S. Very interesting to see that you have normal kidneys. I don't know if you're aware, but most Ehlers anomalies come with kidney anomalies. My right kidney is a hydronephrotic pelvic kidney that also wasn't diagnosed until everything else, and it ended my field hockey career for fear that I could injure my only functioning kidney. ETA just saw that you're a vegan. Me too. Must run with the mutation or something. Edit 2 corrected which horn was non-communicating. That's so interesting. I have actually been told that I'm sort of lucky with the 2 separate systems with round uteruses, whereas other mutations can be a lot harder to manage. Thank you so much for sharing. Bodies are amazing. I hope your daughter is happy and well. They don't want to remove a set as I have an ovary attached to each set, so by removing one side I remove an ovary which may be more fertile than the other one. I drew a diagram in the post. Yes, my kidneys were checked as I was told about this. So interesting. Haha, it must. Have you ever? No. At the same time, would that even be safe? I am so sorry for the rude question, but I just had to ask. Best wishes to your little one on the way. I've used a dildo in one side and a guy in the other, and I love that heaps. I've also done anal with 2 fillies, 1 in each vagina. I'd definitely be keen to try 2 guys, 1 in each side. It would take some creative positions, maybe like how people normally would do DP, and the guys would need to be pretty good friends. I'm confused a bit, sorry. Did you use both for escorting or just one? You kinda said both. Also, are there 2 completely separate openings? Or is it like one opening that has 2 different paths in it? How many clits do you have? When I had a BF and was doing sex work, I tried to use left for escorting and right for him. If my left one hurt from work, it didn't affect our relationship. During times I was single and escorting, I'd swap and change around. Correct one opening that immediately you can see 2 paths to go down per day, right and left one clit, but 2 gram spots. I always find orgasms more intense in my right. Would you tell your clients to stay to the left? Did you guide them in? Or, I only told clients sometimes. There are review forums here in Australia for escorts, and if word got out on there I'd have all sorts of strange bookings requests. As I mentioned, I had a couple of clients figure it out, but usually I would just direct it to the side I like more based on their package. Couldn't you have charged a premium for the novelty? That's a pretty rare situation, and I am sure that could attract some horny curious dollars. I am guessing there's a downside here I haven't thought through. I didn't want it to be a novelty and end up on review forums, so I kept it quiet. Otherwise clients would request all sorts from me. Did your BF know about your escorting job, and was he satisfied with the only use left vagina thing? Or was he fine with it as a whole? You mentioned it as though it was a jest, so I'm curious about the rules, if there was any. If a client entered the private, would you specifically ask him to take a turn to the professional area? Yes, he knows everything. I more used one side so escorting wouldn't impact our sex life. Relationships with a sex worker are challenging enough. Haha, no, I can maneuver my body a bit to make it go to the other side or use my hand. I would never say anything to the client. You mentioned 2 periods. Are they always in sync? Or is the timing off? Always in sync due to hormones. Did the extra vagina influence your decision to go into sex work? No, it didn't at all. It was definitely beneficial though. I could work a lot more. Did you make bank? Did your Johns know beforehand? Yes, I made a lot of money thankfully, and I didn't tell my clients beforehand. I didn't want the info to end up on review forums. How much of an impact did this have on your choice to become an escort? Also, you mentioned you have a fiancé and an GF, so poly. It didn't impact the decision itself, although I couldn't work while I had my period. Escorts use sponges when they have their periods so they can work, and clients can feel the sponge during sex. Because of my anatomy, if I put a sponge up the left one it would be lost forever as they're sort of on an angle. It ended up being really beneficial though. If I was sore in one I could work with the other, etc. Sorry, just with my fiancé. I meant GF as in just general friend. I met my fiancé when I was working, which he struggled with, but he came to accept it, then I quit. I see. Sorry to hear about the unique challenges due to your condition. Thanks for the clarification. Glad you and your fiancé worked everything out. Does your condition pose any specific concerns with the pregnancy? It's not all bad, but thanks. Yes, I can't hold a baby too. My uterus is simply can't stretch enough, so anytime from 30 weeks I'll need an emergency C-section. I can't give birth naturally. It can't come out due to a cartilage-like wall down the middle of each system that separates them. The baby would get stuck. Hope all the best for you and the baby. Thanks for answering my questions. Thank you. Anytime X. Does your husband ever want to pretend he's banging someone else and go to the escort alley instead of normal route? I'm sure he fantasizes about all sorts of weird shit, but I'll never know.